If you're a Texas landowner and you're interested in improving the quality of the genetics on your ranch, you can contact me at deerandwildlifestories.com. Howdy everybody, my name's Keith Warren and welcome to Deer and Wildlife Stories, where today we're going to be in the Texas Hill Country at Droptine Ranch Breeders. We're going to show you some big old bucks and we're going to attend the Big Buck Bash. As a deer hunter, I want to know all I can about America's favorite big game animal. That's why I became a deer farmer. Without deer farms, we lose our greatest resource for research and whitetail management. With them, we gain more knowledge than ever before. Join me as we discover the truth about whitetails and meet those who work every day to preserve this great species for future generations. My name is Keith Warren, and this is Deer and Wildlife Stories.
My name is Frank Pekovic. I'm the owner of Droptine Ranch Breeders located in Fredericksburg, Texas. So my deer breeding business is located on about 10 acres. We have about 15 deer pens and approximately 350 deer in the pens. So most of the people that know me know that I'm not originally from Texas. I'm from New York and came down here in 2002 full-time. Became a deer breeder in 2005 and really wanted to improve the genetics on my ranch, so I became a deer breeder. So today's the last day of August. I'm really excited to have Keith Warren out. I haven't seen him in about 15 years. Wanted to show him the place. I'm excited to have him here. Tomorrow's the first day of dove season. We're gonna have a dove hunt and we're also gonna have a big party tomorrow night. It's gonna be my third annual Monster Buck Bash.
All summer long, I've been hearing about the Big Buck Bash and all the things that they're gonna have here. So I asked Frank to tell us about it.
So tomorrow night's Deer Bash, I started doing this a couple years ago, basically to bring customers and potential customers out to the ranch, basically to get a look. We do pen tours, get a look at all the deer. This year we're gonna have a helicopter tour so people can go up and look at the ranch. They'll actually see a lot of big deer running around. We're gonna have a food tent, and since it's opening day dove season, we'll all be out there dove hunting. It's gonna be one great party that's gonna start in the morning and it's gonna finish up for wee hours in the morning.
With all the deer here, I asked Frank, I said, which one of these deer is your favorite deer?
My absolute favorite buck in the pens is Country Boy. I love that deer. He's 6 years old now. He throws unbelievably. All the deer that come out of him, all the bucks that come out of him are just really big, starting as yearlings, 2-year-olds, and 3-year-olds at this point. Great deer, great producer. Last year we cut his horns because he got too big. He was 38 inches wide. He was almost 500 inches. And I made the mistake of, when I cut him off, putting him back in the pen with the other breeder bucks, and a week later, he ended up getting a fight, not having the headgear to fight, and took a horn in the eye and went blind. We treated him and doctored him for about a month. He's healthy, he's great, but he's blind in that one eye. So now when you look at him in the pens, he's kind of tilted a little bit, and on the one side where he's blind, his horns are not quite as wide as they were last year. But he's a heck of a deer, great breeder, and I love the deer tremendously. My second favorite buck is Country Boy 2. He's absolutely tremendous. As a 2-year-old, he was 38 inches wide. As a 3-year-old, he was 38 inches wide. And this year, he just didn't quite make 40 inches, but my God, did he have big brow tines and big tine length. We had to cut him this past week. He started to get antler infection. We decided for his health to take the whole antlers off. It would have been selfish for me to just leave him on, but I wanted to take him off and keep him healthy. Gladiator Max is another buck I absolutely love. He was actually my first 200-inch yearling, and I bred him as a yearling, and I bred him every year since, and I've sold a lot of deer out of him. But the yearlings and 2-year-olds that I have in my pens out of him are absolutely terrific. Throws big, beautiful, typical heavy horn deer, and I absolutely love the way he throws bucks. And I'm really excited about him as a breeder in my pens.
The Deer Farming Channel is brought to you in part by Record Rack Deer and Elk Feeds. If Viewer feedback is presented by Protect the Harvest, Protect the Hunt. This is off our Facebook page from a viewer by the name of Steve. Says, I've been planning on becoming a deer farmer as soon as I retire, but my state of Missouri has made it virtually impossible for me to make my business model work. So I'm considering moving. What state do you think is the most deer farmer friendly state and why? Steve, great question. I want to point out that yes, Missouri unfortunately has come down on deer farming so hard with the regulations that a lot of deer farmers are considering just selling the place and moving out because of over-regulation by government in the state of Missouri. So what state would I recommend that is deer farmer friendly? In my opinion, the most deer farmer friendly state in the country is Oklahoma. And the reason why is they don't even test for chronic wasting disease. If you've got a question or comment about the show and you're watching online, go ahead and post them below. If you want to get a hold of me, all you need to do is shoot me an email, go to the website and hit the Connect with Keith tab. Or you can get a hold of me on Facebook. So the first thing that I notice is that your pens are relatively small compared to a lot of people's, but that's a good thing. I tell people that the bigger your pens, the more than likely the more crazy your deer are, and it really calms them down. And this pen of yearlings, I mean, they're pretty doggone calm. So tell me about who these guys are and who they're out of.
Well, that one big one over there, he's actually out of junkyard. 2 years in a row, I've gotten really big yearlings out of junkyard. Great breeder. As you know, he's a womb brother to Triple Crown.
Yep.
And he works really well with the does that I have.
Okay. How about this guy right here?
That one there, he's actually out of Country Boy 2, and you can see how wide he is. That's what I love about it. I mean, Country Boy 2 has been 38 inches wide since he was 2 years old. Close to 40 inches this year, and you can see right there that guy, how wide he is as a yearling, is awesome, and that's really what we're looking for out here.
And so look at this. I mean, it's like these yearlings. I mean, I just look at it and think, all these deer that we've been showing you, it is like they're magical. They bring people together. I mean, we met 20 years ago or so on a hunt.
That's right.
And then all of a sudden we worked together on some legislative stuff, and then we're out here, and I'm thinking, it is just amazing. So as we look at these yearlings, I think, and he's beautiful too. Now, this guy right here, who's he out of?
Well, that one there is actually out of Gladiator Max. That's one of my favorite bucks in the pens. He's just big, heavy horn, beautiful buck. And he really produces some great offspring for me. I've had some big 2-year-olds out of him that I sold last year. And every year I get great deer out of him. I absolutely love that buck.
So you got pedigrees. All these are in the registry, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so if somebody was to buy a deer, now your primary business model is to sell deer as what we call stalker deer, but you also, because your genetics, and clearly what you've got out here, you're selling to breeders as well. So when somebody buys a stalker, they really don't care about the pedigree, but when they buy the breeder, they do. You can guarantee the breeding on these on every one?
Absolutely. Any buck that we use as a breeder gets DNA'd, every single one. And the does that we breed with, that we use as our breeder does, also DNA'd. So if anybody buying a breeded deer or breeded quality deer, everything's DNA'd. The ones that we kind of consider stalker, we don't DNA them for obvious reasons. There's no point doing it.
Right. Okay, well, we have shown you these yearlings, and I mean, there's some outstanding yearlings, and they're my kind of deer. They're pretty, framing, nice deer.
Thank you.
And at 2 years old, I can't wait to see what they're going to look like next year. But speaking of 2-year-olds, let's head over there right now and show everybody what the 2-year-olds
Absolutely,
look like.
Let's go.
All right. If you're in Texas and interested in becoming a deer farmer, you can contact me for deer farming franchise opportunities right here in Texas at deerandwildlifestories.com. All right, so these guys are 2?
Yes, 2-year-olds.
Okay, man, I mean, there's some pretty deer.
Yeah, some
Holy
great 2-year-olds in there
smokes.
for sure.
So who's that guy?
That guy over there is King Arthur. He was out of Gladiator 2. Gladiator 2 on my does works phenomenal. A few years ago, I had Gladiator's King at 2 years old, 36 inches wide, and I sold him as a 3-year-old. King Arthur is his name, is actually got a great pedigree. I bred him to 10 does this year. I'm really excited to see what his offspring look like this coming year.
Well, I notice as I'm looking at these deer, and I see some white deer around the pens, you do have quite a bit of Gladiator blood in your program. Explain why that is and how well it's worked for you.
Very early on in my breeding program, I actually met up with Henry Woodard. He was in Big Wells, I was in Pearsall, we were 30 miles away. And went out to his pens and that was actually right when he bought the deer from Hal Berdahl. And Gladiator was really 2 or 3 years old at the time, and he was phenomenal. He was one of the biggest in the industry at that time, and I believed in him. So I basically started using, which was Henry Woodard that turned into Lone Hollow. I started using that semen early on, and I've stuck with it because after that he had a great buck called King George, who was out of 217, who was actually produced mixed Texas, and I mean, so he's got a lot of really good deer go back to, the Hal Berdahl line. So I just absolutely love it, and I've used it extensively in the pens.
And so this guy right here, who's he now?
That's actually Maximus 2.
Again, goes right back to the Gladiator
It goes
stuff.
right back to the Gladiator stuff. And again, and actually in his pedigree, he's got 727 Junior, which everybody likes in their pedigrees as well. So I really love that buck as well.
Okay. Now, that deer right there is unreal. I mean, what's his name? I mean, he is so pretty, so clean. What's his name?
Actually, we're naming him today. His
Really?
name is Merlin. And he's out of Country Boy, the original Country Boy, and he's one of the best 2-year-olds I've ever produced.
Good.
I mean, he's probably got 16, 17-inch tines. He's a perfect 7x6, absolutely beautiful buck, and that's the kind of deer that we want to breed in our breeding program.
Goodness gracious. So, everybody, welcome to, I want you to meet Merlin. I mean, so all the names that you have then are really kind of falling in that theme, that Gladiator
Right,
theme, aren't
right,
they?
keeping within that theme, correct.
Man.
Yeah.
Okay, well, what a nice pen of 2-year-olds. And let me ask you this, if somebody wants to come out on a farm tour, would you give them a phone number so they can call you up and try to schedule a time to come out and see your deer?
Absolutely. My phone number is 210-355-6200. That's my cell phone. I have it with me all the time. And I live out on the ranch, so I'm always open. Anybody can come anytime.
Well, what we're going to need to do right now is head on over to the 3-year-olds. I want to see the 3-year-olds because we got to get this done because I know they're setting up for the big buck bash.
That's right. That's right.
And I'm looking forward to that. So let's go see the 3-year-olds.
It's going to be a good time for sure.
And then we're going to go to the big buck bash.
Awesome.
The Deer Farming Channel is brought to you in part by New Dart, leading the industry in accuracy. Wow, 3-year-olds?
They're big.
Oh my gosh,
No,
okay.
they're big horn, they're big bodied also, really big
They're
animals.
pigs, man. They're
That's
bulked
right.
up.
That's
Okay,
right.
so who's that guy right there?
Okay, that's actually King James. I absolutely love that buck. Now he's in here with the stockers as well as King's Ransom, who's the other big one over there. Because I bred them as yearlings. I don't necessarily use them as breeders at 2 years old because I want to see what they produce. So then I put them in with the 3-year-olds, for this year. Once I see what they produce, then I may continue using them as a breeder. So for instance, King's Ransom, 2 of the biggest yearlings that we have in our second yearling pen are out of him. So I know he throws monsters, and I'm definitely going to use him again this year.
Okay, I want to interrupt and say that's a strategy, a business strategy that Frank has used. Most deer breeders will not breed a yearling. They just won't do it. And the reason why is because, well, they want to see what he does at 2, because there's a lot of yearlings that we call knotheads, or little bitty guys that grow up into maybe being the biggest 2-year-old in the pen, but at 1-year-old they look bad. So there's really no telling. When you take a look at a giant yearling, is he going to really do it again at 2? But clearly you made a good strategy. Now I'm sure you're going to use him to breed this year then.
Absolutely. And just to go a further point on that, I always breed at least my 2 biggest yearlings every year because I believe in my pedigrees.
So that's just
so
a
not
strategy.
necessarily. I mean, if they're big as a yearling, my feeling is they're going to continue to grow big. I'm not necessarily concerned about what they're going to look like at 2 and 3 years old, although we want them to look big. I'm more concerned about what they're going to produce on the ground. So
Okay.
that's really, at the end of the day, what does each buck produce? I mean, you can have a beautiful giant buck, and we've seen that a lot in this industry, who doesn't produce well.
Exactly.
So that's really, to me, the most important part. So if you don't breed your yearlings, how are you going to know what they produce? I mean, why would you wait until they're 2 or 3 years old? Now, I actually did that with Country Boy too. He was not a big yearling, and I didn't breed him. So now he's 4 years old. I only bred him as a 2-year-old because he got to 38 inches, and now I have yearlings on the ground. But the yearlings look awesome, but he's kind of an exception to that. So that's why I'll breed the biggest yearlings. If they don't produce, I'll sell them as stockers. If they do produce, I'll continue to breed them. And then I do look at my 2-year-old group and see any of those big surprises that you're talking about. And then again, I'll look at the pedigree, see if they match up with the does that I had that I want to breed. And if they do, I'll use them as a breeder as well.
Okay, so there any other breeders in here? Are these
Well,
all
I mentioned the
stalkers?
2. So yeah, the other one there is, like I said, King's Ransom and King James. Those are the
Okay.
2 breeders in this 3-year-old pen. The others are stocker bucks.
Okay, so stalker bucks, these deer right here, and when you say stalker bucks, I want you to explain to people where these bucks are going and why.
Okay, so other ranches have different strategies. What I like to see my stalker bucks do is go in, get sold to ranches where the owners will release them and use them to breed and produce other big deer for the pasture. That's the smart way to do it. This way, they can enhance the genetics on their properties, and they'll have big yearlings and so on and so forth, and have big deer to shoot down the road.
And when they do that, they also increase their property value, and it makes the experience of anybody coming out there a little bit elevated compared to when you're looking at little deer versus big deer. Everybody wants to look at big deer. And so, well, what we're going to do, we're about done with time right now looking at deer. There are people assembling over here at the Big Buck Bash. Tell them a little bit about why you put the Big Buck Bash on.
To make it fun, okay? I want people to see what I do. I want people to get interested in this. So what I do is I open it up to mostly people around in the area that'll come, but I have people coming from out of state. They want to come, see what I've done, and talk deer. I mean, this business is, everybody that's in this business is very passionate about it. Anybody that likes whitetails is passionate about this, even if they're not a breeder, even if they're just a whitetail hunter. To come here, see these big deer, and I get it all the time. I get people coming here going, oh my God, oh my God. I mean, I get a great deal of satisfaction out of that. And that's really part of the enjoyment, is to be able to have people come in and look and see what we have here and get excited about it. So the party's kind of like, okay, let's have a great time. Let's show that the deer in the street can be fun. And this is the 3rd year we've done it, and it's been great.
So you're doing it every year?
Every year now,
Okay,
yes.
so give them a phone number. If somebody wants to come out, you want to see Frank's deer, and you want to go to the Big Buck Bash, give them a phone number to call.
210-355-6200. That is my cell phone.
And he's located just outside of Fredericksburg, Texas. And if you've ever thought about getting into the deer breeding business, what I would recommend, if you've never been to Fredericksburg, it is a great place. Bring your girlfriend, bring your wife, come out here. They've got bed and breakfast here, and,
Yep.
and that's what Frank does too also. And so this is a wonderful part of the Texas Hill Country. There's a lot to see, a lot to do, and it starts right here at Droptine Ranch Breeders. And so I want to thank you.
Sure.
I want to thank you for
Thank you
having
for
us
coming
out.
out. Absolutely.
But more importantly, I want to thank you for believing in the deer industry and believing in coming to Texas and being an uprooted New Yorker and coming to Texas. And I think, how cool is that?
Yeah, I do. It is.
Well-
And I actually like that. I like when people say, y'all are from New York. I just said, yep, I am. How can you tell?
Yeah, how can you tell? All you got to do is just listen to him.
Right,
New York.
right.
All right, let's head over and help out getting ready for the Big Buck Bash. And
Let's
I'll
go,
tell you,
man. I'm excited
right
about it.
now, that helicopter I know is supposed to be arriving soon,
That's
right?
it. Yep.
Okay.
All right.
We're here at the Droptine Ranch owned by Frank Fekovic by Fredericksburg, Texas. And we're here for the Big Buck Bash. There's going to be music, helicopter rides, and pen tours to look at all the monster bucks that Frank's got on his property.
Supernatural country rockin'. Nothing's not the way I'm gonna feel.
My name is Phyllis LeBlanc. I own Triple L Whitetails and Exotics. We came here today to meet and greet other deer breeders, and we're enjoying ourselves immensely. We've already been on a helicopter ride and a tour of the ranch, and it's been just a great experience.
We are having such a blast out here at Droptine Ranch with the pin tours and the helicopter tours, and it is a fantastic party. Just happy to be a part of it.
My name's Kendall. I work for Fredericksburg Realty. We're at the Droptine Ranch for the Big Buck Bash, and this place is absolutely beautiful. We're doing pin tours, helicopter rides, and there's great food and music.